Are you searching for a deeper understanding of yourself and your place in the world? Do you yearn for more balance, more peace, and purpose in your life? Well, look no further than the Intuitive Revolution podcast, your trusted source for holistic insights and intuitive guidance. I'm your host, Alicia Farricielli, and I am ready to take you on a journey to inner peace and balanced well-being. Welcome back to the Intuitive Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Farricielli. Today, I have such an amazing guest. I have Natalie Viglione with us, and she's going to talk to us about some amazing concepts, amazing things that she's journeyed through, including a thing called disrUPtion. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alicia.
So tell us, this is such a fascinating thing. Tell us how you got started in this and kind of what was your background before?
Well, I did a whole stint of corporate life, which pretty much destroyed me, like on all layers and levels. It was extremely toxic ride, because that's kind of that life. Work hard, play harder. Not good. So essentially, I had to it was 17 years of that. And I was living in New York City at the time and working at marketing agencies is Fifth Avenue, the whole thing. And, I basically was stopped by divine higher self moment and literally was like, you have a choice point, time, disrupt now. And so I had to literally jump up and out of everything that I had known up to that point. And that's when I launched my mission. And so it was a very, the starseeds, indigos, we come here with missions, right? And you have a choice. You can either rise up and launch it or kind of meander through the pathways that this world takes you through. Yeah. And often that takes us so much farther away from our true soul's essence. And that's exactly what had happened to me. And so at this point, it's been 9 years ago that I said bye-bye to the corporate life and said hello to my mission.
Yeah. I love that you did that. You took the bravery and the calling. And it's once you have that calling to go into what your true passion, what you're supposed, your starseed, your soul's mission. And once you align with that, your life starts to change. So tell me some of the things that started to change for you, because I know it was probably not a very easy process. I'm believing a corporate, the security behind the corporate, you're kind of told how to behave, what to do, which is to me is a whole nother security. I was in the corporate world before. It's you knew how to behave, you knew how to act, you know how to dress, you knew what to do when you showed up for work. And then you start this thing and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I have to make decisions for myself. I have to keep myself accountable, and I have to, then stay true to who I am at the same time.
Right. Yeah. It was, so I had a very unique, I think, design. So given the fact that I had been all I did for 17 years was marketing, sales, business development. So it's all the critical skills needed to run any mission, any AKA, business on this planet. So it was really actually the hard part was leaving a title, leaving, 6+ figures in a paycheck and bonuses and, all that lifestyle stuff, thinking I totally needed coach person. It's just I had to totally leave that old, not even me self behind. She had to die. So it truly is a rebirth and renewal from the inside out, because, I had to let go of everything that I thought was important. Even though at soul level, I knew none of those things were important. It's what this world shows you. This is what success looks like, which, as we know, is totally BS. Absolutely and positively the most ultimate BS that we could ever be faced with. So it's I had to die. An entire self had to be reborn into the truth, and it wasn't easy. But the good thing was that because of the work that I was doing, I took clients with me when I left. And so I had clients right away. So the first iteration of what I launched was, and it still is, I still help. It's Sacred Soul Path Illumination. So I help other healers and coaches and guides or whatever they, to launch their mission, because that's my, what I did for 17 years, But then like 2 years after I had launched that and it was my own thing and I had clients and, so that part was easy because I didn't start with without
Yeah.
anything. I didn't start at zero, I guess is the point. Then, a couple years after I started that, I had a dream that brought the disrupt now. Like, I mean, literally to the point where it showed me the dream and vision showed me what the logo needed to look like. You need to focus on the word up. You need, because, and at that time, so this is like 7 years ago, roughly, I didn't really know to the full extent of what that would mean. And I think that we can all pretty much agree, even if we have varying perspectives on what's really just happening in the world and what is being destroyed, which is the status quo, which is the old world. These systems are dying, they're falling away because they have to. So little did I know that it is disruption that is absolutely required on every vibrational level of all things to be able to build anew. And that was the true core ethos of the message. Yet I didn't realize the profundity of it even then. It's only been in the last few years. I'm like, oh, yeah, you guys were setting me up. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, I see like a lot of us that are connected. I would say I'm just going to be connected to the spiritual world on a very deep level. We understand the disruptions going on. We see the breaking, we see the things going, and it's the very excitement portion of it. And it's so profound that we just almost like told to you, before it's like you actually saw this, like this is the way the world is going to be. And you're going to play a part in this and you're going to help with the disruption, but on such a beautiful point of view, a beautiful point to it. Instead of contributing to the chaos, you feel like you're going to come in and you're going to be there to heal the disruption, the emotions that go through with it. So yeah,
that's totally it. Totally it. And in the beginning of that all, it was like it was a podcast. And then I'm like, okay, now what? And so sometimes it's like we jump into our mission. And again, I had a very different scenario where I didn't start from zero. So I didn't have the like, oh, where am I going to get clients? What am I going to do? So I think that allowed more space. I mean, if I, in like when we're mentors, whatever you want to, I say guide, facilitator, I feel like it's like, don't do that. Exactly. Like, I just like jumped into the, head first into the deep end, was like, let's go, guys. But, that's not really the best way to have done that ultimately. If I was starting at zero, like that would have been extremely horribly stressful, which then thereby clearly affects our health on every level, and so yeah, it's like a learning lesson of like, it's a good thing that I had clients and had that whole setup. Because if I didn't, that's a very difficult road, difficult path. So meandering one that's a little more like, as you're working full time or doing something else, you can build something else. That's a much more sound approach, I think.
Yeah, I feel that because I've did both. I've, worked full time and had part time building up businesses too. I've had a full time business and tried to launch into another business part time and let that go. In the times that I just jumped straight into it without having at least a little bit of security, because we tell people, oh, you should do this and you should do that. Go follow your soul's purpose, go do what, and we think everyone should be entrepreneurs. And I'm completely disagree. Not everyone that's not everybody's calling in this particular lifetime for them. But those that are, we come in, and if you're coming from this unalignment too, it's like the scarcity that comes in. And I've been there, and it's such a hard thing because you can't build upon something and you can't heal something if that tiger's still chasing you, or literally, people chasing you down to pay the bills of the tiger is what it feels like at the times. It's like you have these things you have to pay, you have to survive. And so if you're in survivalship, you can't get to that next level. So you really have to, I mean, it's almost a fine line too. It's, the people, you got the people that just jump in, they're like, trying to be fearless. And I've been that person. And so I can say this with like confidence. Don't do that. I mean, don't go do that. Make sure you have, a path. The path is led out to you. And I feel like, intuitively, I don't feel like your guides are going to be like, you have no money, you have nothing, you have no savings, you have not like you don't even, I mean, half the time that people start business, they don't even, I did that too. And I actually was successful in it for some amazing, crazy reason, but not even knowing what I'm doing. So I think you do have to have that balance of skills. It's kind of the logic and the intuition that kind of mix together too. You have to use both of them. That's why we have them both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, you talk about in your podcast, write up, it's like that bridge, right, between spirituality and science. This is the same kind of bridge.
Yeah.
Intuition. It's divine feminine and masculine energies. Action forging, in the masculine, and then flowing and trusting intuition in the feminine. So it's really that sacred union of those energies that are absolutely required to really harmoniously, that's the sacred soul path illumination and the Team Goo side that I work with people on, because that, intertwining and intersecting those almost like DNA strands within our bodies is just it's so required. And now like more than ever, because of all of the lies and deceit and manipulations that are going to be revealed, if that union is not taking place, if that union is not being worked on, it will, the chaos will rise and rise. So you can imagine how one's life can just get full of stress, sickness, illness. That, stress is dis-ease in our bodies.
Right.
It's pretty simple when we think about it.
Right.
Complex though,
Yeah, because doctors are always like talking about stress, but they don't understand that. I mean, they understand, but it's people think that stress is going to cause a heart attack or cause this, but no, it causes so many other things. And it's because you're storing all these emotions inside your body, and you're not processing through that. You're not processing through, the good emotions, the bad, what we call them bad emotions. We're not processing through that. We're just either I feel like in our world is almost polarized in certain ways of we're either just kind of floating through life and nobody cares, and the old kind of hippie-ish way, which is I love those people. I love that portion of people, or we're so like lost in our logic that we're analyzing everything and and it's paralyzing certain moves in our life and causing us to just take the love out of our passions out of our lives and stuff too. And of course, that society we live in that is slowly starting to diminish and the feminine's coming in. But we can also be so far on the other extreme that we're not keeping some of that portion. So I think I'm really glad, and thank you for bringing that up, that we need to keep the balance. That there's not, people are like, toxic masculinity, being a toxic male.
Yeah.
I can't say today. Explain to her, I was like, I'm getting over being sick for a while, so the words are not flowing out.
No, they usually don't, It's like lack of sleep, it doesn't work.
Right. But being that toxic masculinity is totally not being masculine. It's not having the masculine aspects of it. And it's okay. We need to have that. We need to love the masculine men. We need to love portions of self, but we also need to balance it out. So what are some ways that you find that you kind of recommend people to balance that out?
Ooh, that is a really fantastic, and we could be here for like the next 5 days, no, 5 hours, I don't know, maybe days, but so this has been the journey. This has been my quest. So my quest has been, okay, so I was literally like a toxic male energy, toxic. The masculinity in me was, I mean, my feminine was so, even though like literally I'm here to bring in the feminine. So, and the way I see it is like the vision that has always come through is this pendulum that's just swinging. And my husband and I talk about this all the time. It's like, oh my God, why are we over here now? Oh, but let's go over here now. It's like, no. We need, okay, the balance. All right. So harmony. So what does that mean? Okay. Well, what I have uncovered. So I got very, very, very sick when I left. So it took about a year or two. And man, it was like a brick wall of just like, it's like I stopped for the first time in my life. And everything that I did, just like slammed into the back of my head and I was like, I mean, it was just literally the list of things is so long. We don't have that much time to go over them. I will just say that I was very, very ill. So I had to figure out how to get out of that. The conventional path for me, never, ever, because that is not wellness. So that was already like not even going there. I had to kind of step into it for a minute to get tests, like scans, CT scans, like that, things like that. But then I'm in this natural healing world, and I was working with all these naturopaths and all these things. Anyway, long story short, no one had a why. Like, what's going on? Like, no, because everything is like a symptom. If you have brain fog, that's a symptom. Inflammation is a symptom. All these diagnoses, they're symptoms. So then took me many years, 5 years, to figure out what was actually going on. And what I have discovered in this May of last year, I got certified from the Root Cause Protocol Institute, led by the research of Morley Robbins. Now, they take a more modern lens and approach. So I have the ancient wisdom of master herbalism as a flower essence practitioner as well. And then I have this modern lens to the Root Cause Protocol Institute. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I had to bridge these things together to find the answers, because the inner union, the balance, the harmony actually needs to start deep within our bodies when it comes to our minerals. If our minerals in our body are not balanced, literally every system in our entire body it's like all the cogs in the wheels aren't working properly. And so inner union actually takes place when we begin to heal so deep within that starts to raise our vibration. That is how we actually raise our vibration. We work so deeply on literally a cellular level, and then inside out, and that actually begins to affect our energetic bodies. So this learning has been like, I can tell you, it kind of broke down, made me deprogram from a lot of misconceptions and straight up purposeful lies of mainstream narratives about what healing is. And in this process, there's a million things, but looking at mineral levels is like one of the biggest things that I can share with people at this point. And there's a beautiful book that Morley Robbins wrote called Cure Fatigue. And it's like CU, and it has a box around it because it's talking about copper. So we're literally, yeah. So, and this has everything to do with the connection to Earth, and all of the poisons and toxins that have been poured into Earth is greatly affecting all living beings on this planet. So it's like that deep, but that's where it can start.
Yeah, it's sad because you think about, you're like, I drink this water to like dehydrate my body, but then it's lacking all the minerals and nutrients that I need. I add this stuff into my water every day, but then we eat this food, but it's like the food where it's grown, the minerals and nutrients are not inside the soil, so therefore, and they're depleted from pesticides and all kinds of stuff, even if you're eating organic. So it's like so hard to balance that out, to be able to do that. So what are some things people can do?
So I think, again, that book is it's like an introductory book. It's like, okay, here's the basics, here's where's some places to start. But when I think about, it's like you said, it's like even just that basic level, what kind of water is someone taking into their body? If it's out of a plastic bottle, big no-no. If it's the best kind of water, we have a device that takes all the poison toxins and all the stuff out. And then what it does is it pours back in the minerals, it structures the water, so structuring water, cleansing the water, purifying the water, and then getting the trace minerals back into the water is a really beautiful place to start, because that is one of the most the most missing element is like that nutritious, live, vibrant water to get into at the cellular level.
Yeah.
And so trace minerals, would be like basics, trace minerals to, like you said, add to the water, and then get a structuring water device. There's a lot of different things like that. And then there's also, I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but I call it the starseed supplement, actually. Oh. So it's a bioplasma is what it's called, and it's cell salts. And it's a homeopathic remedy. And you take some throughout the day. You can even put it in your animals' water, because everything that is happening to humanity is happening to our animals too. So I also help, animals, our fur babies heal. So you could even drop some, a tablet into your fur baby's water and help them get basically what the bioplasma does is it takes that water, hopefully the nutritious water that you're drinking, and actually helps it get into the cell. So those are a couple of basics.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing all that. I'm going to go look it up too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had a thought kind of when as you're speaking, I'm like, you think about it, like back in, ancient days, back in the tire chasing the day, like they weren't drinking like 2 gallons of water or whatever they tell you to drink today. I'm like, the reason why we have to drink so much water is because we're not getting the same nutrients that are hydrating us. So now we have to drink so much more water and, stay hydrated. Stay hydrated is the biggest thing. But I don't think we necessarily, everybody's bodies are different, obviously. But I don't think that's necessary if we're getting the nutrients and the stuff, the right, correct stuff in our body. I don't think we have to have the gallons of water that we're told to drink.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I'll never forget, like I'm drinking this water right now. And when we first got that whole system and we were drinking we were just doing filtered water previous. Yeah. This is years ago. And we looked at the two waters and I was like, oh my God, like this water is thick and it lays on your tongue and like you can feel it going down your entire, and it's like, whoa. And then it's like it spirals when it's pouring out and it's alive, like it's vibrant, alive water. And in fact, we just tested this yet again on another level. So we saved a little kitten in our neighborhood and nursed it back to health so that we could, give it to another person's home. And the poor little baby had worms, and probably wasn't getting fed good food and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, within like a few days of being with us, we were like, I was fully prepared to give him a tincture to get the worms out and stuff. And he didn't even need it. So within a few days, just by drinking the water alone, it cleansed his body full.
Wow.
So the worms, yeah. So it was just a testament to like, this is how powerful good water actually can be. It can be that simple,
Well, our bodies are made up of so much water. The world's made up of water. I mean, it's a certain energy. Water is an energy, so it has to be the right type of positive energy going into your body. So that makes total sense when you think about it from that type of
just intuitively, right? Yeah.
Yeah, intuitively. It makes sense to me. My logic's over here going, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The logic and the intuition tying in together.
Yep.
So tell me more about this disruption and your programs and the things that you're doing with that.
Yeah. So again, evolution, but a lot of evolution of that over the years. And, the ethos to it really is about helping starseeds get unstuck and really embracing that disruption for the good of all, because it's getting, again, that word up, getting up and out of those old energies. And I would say the enslaving energies, limiting energies, and when we get up and out of that and we kind of, it's like we see from a very different perspective, that allows us to get back into truth, get back into nature, get back into, the true wisdom of knowledge. Like, what does true knowledge actually look like? So the programs that I've been running are really foundationally pretty simple, but like, what does that, when disruption happens, like, how do you remember your sacredness? Mm-hmm. How do you remember that you're a divine human? Because again, I don't care what consciousness we're streaming, we are having a human experience. So, we're not always going to know the best things. Like 10 years ago, was I drinking this water? No, I didn't even know that it existed. Right. So I wish, but the truth of that has been hidden. So, it's a deep time of revelation and reclamation of what true knowledge and wisdom feels like, so that we can heal, so that we can, get back to this core essence of beauty, which, we've been just hammered for thousands and thousands of years that humanity, sucks, you're the vermin on the planet, you're the blah, blah, blah. That actually isn't true. None of that is true. But when we believe it's true, we can get stuck in those old energies. And so I have a deep, deep hope and desire and the purest intention to see us, so many of us lift up and out of all of that and help our animals, help our earth at the same time. Because if we if we remember the sacredness of all things, I think that gives us a very different perspective on all the nonsense that happens on a daily basis, right?
Yes, that's such a beautiful thing. And then Olivia pointed that out, because when we start to respect, the smaller things, which sometimes we think like, oh, this bird or this tree or whatever is not as great. When we start to realize that they're just as equal as we are in this world, they're just they're same vibrations. I mean, we're connected in oneness to everything. We start to take care of the world in much better space, and to bring
Exactly.
loving kindness to everyone and everything, and to
That's
hold all
it.
that. So yeah.
That's it.
Well, this has been fantastic, Natalie. Thank you so much for sharing. What's the
Yeah.
best way for people to reach out to you? Obviously, your information will be in the show notes, but just in case they're listening to us through audio.
Yes, yes, yes. Go to Awakening Magic, and I spell it with a CK, magick.com, and that will bring you straight into, all these things that we're talking about right now, and including the one-to-one vibrational medicine work that I'm doing with the starseeds and all those that feel called into that kind of work.
Oh, you're doing such beautiful work. And I thank you so much for not only sharing, but doing this work to bring humanity into such a higher consciousness, and to start this disruption that really, really, really needs to take place in our world.
Absolutely.
Bring us into.
And same to you.
Thank you. Yeah. It takes us all to bring it all. So again, thank you so much.
Absolutely. Very welcome. Thanks for having me.